if you're into snakes, this one's for you.
Release her back into the wild. Careful, she may whip back, because she's definitely doesn't like us anymore.
Wow, standing so still.
Just don't move.
Oh, that was a good shot.
Okay, she's don't move. She's under your boot.
She's coming up. Hold on, I want to get more shots.
Get that thing out of the way. Hold on.
Dude, Frank has balls.
Well, he almost didn't.
Almost lost him.
That's how you take videos and photos of a coral snake in the Ecuadorian jungle. It's hot as hell out here, but we all got shots, so we're stoked. The coral snakes in Ecuador are massive. They're massive. They're a meter long. Micrurus transandinus, which is the coral snake that you just saw, is a beast. Literally 1 meter, 3 feet long. Big coral snakes. I mean, they're elapids. There are only elapids in the Western Hemisphere. Apart from sea snakes, they're extremely, extremely toxic. They're dangerous snakes. And a 3 foot long elapid is a handful. If you noticed, when I was filming the snake and it went right between my legs, it didn't do anything. These snakes, and actually just about any snake, is not aggressive. They are defensive. They're going to defend themselves. If that snake was aggressive, it would have turned me into a eunuch. I would not have reproductive organs anymore. That snake would have put my ass down. But since I was not causing any threat or any harm to it, slithered right in there, slithered out the other end. That sounded really bad, but it went its own way, and it was cool. So, I mean, that's what you got to keep in mind. Snakes will never mess with you if you don't mess with them.
Expecting to see that.
Alright, guys.
That's a beautiful one, huh?
Yeah, well, we walked underneath it and I was looking on the trees and not.
Yeah, I can't believe we all passed over. Careful with it. Yes, I'm looking.
Grab it.
I got it. Come down. Yeah.
Careful, careful.
My foot's stuck. Okay, we're free.
Show him the camera. Show him over here.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Well, don't turn to me. Don't turn to me. Oh no.
Here.
There you go.
What do you think?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So the Choco Tree Boa was one of the highlights of the trip. Big, beautiful Corallus blomberi. Found it at night, found it on the move. I mean, we actually walked right past it. And Sebastian turned around, I think to say something to one of us who were further back on the trail, and he happened to spot it, just cruising right across those vines, right across the top of the trail. And to just check that thing out and see it up there was so sick. Seeing the little vine snakes up in the trees is one thing, but seeing a big 4-foot constrictor up in a tree is a different story. It's, for lack of better words, it's breathtaking. And to see this Corallus blomberi in the wild, in the Choco, I will not forget it.
Trooper.
So what makes the Choco really interesting to a lot of people is the abundance and diversity of viper species in a relatively small area. And in 5 days, we found 2 species of Bothrops, we found Porthidium, and we found Bothriechis. Everybody wants to see an eyelash viper. And we saw, I think, 4 or 5. They come in an array of colors. So there are some yellow and orange Bothriechis sledgely in Ecuador, in the Choco, but they're pretty rare comparatively. Like in Costa Rica, you find a lot of yellow ones. But in the Choco, in Western Ecuador, you're typically going to find, I guess, what they call the garden phase, which is greens and browns and greens and oranges and stuff like that. To me, it's more beautiful. I mean, it's cryptic. You see them, they blend in. They're beautiful snakes, and it's not like an ugly green. These things are like sometimes neon green. They're just beautiful snakes, and they sit, you know, in the top of these little branches and just kind of smaller trees and saplings and stuff like that, and they just sit and wait. And they're waiting generally for frogs and anoles is what these guys are eating. They're pretty toxic. I don't think they'd put you down, but you definitely don't want to get bit by them. And just a beautiful snake to see. So they're a pleasant snake to photograph. You just, you know, you got to be on your toes a little bit. Bothrops, on the other hand, you really got to watch your ass. These snakes will defend themselves with everything they have. They will bite you straight up. They have no issue taking a shot at you. That's part of the fun. I mean, everybody knows the fertile ants, which is Bothrops asper, which is Central American. Now, in South America, we have the Bothrops atrox. It's a different species. It's a cousin or a sister species to the typical fertile ants, but it is a different species. And it is just as toxic, I believe, and just as defensive. These guys will, like I said, they'll defend themselves. They're not playing around. Porthidium nosudum is I think they call him a hognose viper or a pignose viper or a jumping viper. I don't know. I don't know the common name for him. If you do, message me or call me or comment me or whatever. Let me know, because I don't know it. Anyway, they're super cool little snakes. The one we found was a tiny little baby, and it was just coiled perfectly on a log. I think Mike found it. And broad daylight thing, I mean, these things are so blended in, they look like leaves. You'd walk right past them. I mean, they got really killer pattern on them. They just blend right in. And that was a beautiful snake. And then, Bothrops punctatus. Bothrops punctatus was fucking beautiful. Black, yellow, gold, and big. I wouldn't say they're rare, but typically guys will see young animals or smaller animals, and this was a full-grown adult, and it was absolutely beautiful. It was also the devil. I mean, this snake was not stoked to be messed around with. It just was, it was pissed off that we were messing with it. So they're smart snakes, they're attentive snakes, and they're a snake that you do not want to get caught slipping on, because they will take a shot at you. Like I said earlier though, if you're not messing with them, they won't. But Tropical Herping guys needed a picture. We needed our pictures. I wanted to get footage. They got theirs, we got ours. It was a beautiful experience. We let the snake go. We got to see it cruising through a creek, and it was just, I mean, it was a beautiful snake. It was killer to be around that animal. To take a snake, to bring it, 50 meters from its habitat, to take photos and do this and that with, and then to release the snake right back where you caught it, there's not a problem. That's ethical, that's cool, that's fine to do that. When you're dealing with a venomous snake and something that can seriously harm you, you shouldn't mess with them unless you're experienced or you're with experienced people. I mean, that's rule number one. Greggy?
Yes, sir. Woohoo! It's a film.
We're heading out of Choco Toco, Canande Lodge. We're going to Mindo. We're in the back of a truck and it's fucking raining. And we're in the jungle and it's bumpy.
Steamy jungle.
We're on a bus for like 5 hours and then we'll get to Mindo.
We're walking and meet this.
So that's the end of the Choco. It was like 5 or 6 days of just herping bliss. It was so fun. The Tropical Herping guys were just like, I mean, they were like, it was like being with friends. They were super cool guys. By the end of the trip, they were like, we're like homies, you know what I mean? We're exchanging, you know, Facebook and Instagram and all this and that, and we still keep in touch. They're great dudes. I recommend them. Super fun guys, super chill. I mean, I keep saying super, but it was great. It was like being there with your friends. Attentive to what you need, attentive to what you want to see. They even got us beer out in the middle of the jungle. So, I mean, I don't have any complaints. Shit was cool. They had an expedition to go on. So the second they dropped us off at the river, they met up with some of their other team and they went on an expedition. And our next stop was to head up into the cloud forests in Mindo and find some anoles. So that will be coming. Yeah, man, this has been a fun little series. This is part 3. We will finish up in Mindo with part 4. So stay tuned.
Just slap it.
Right.
Just slap me anywhere.
Or Mike screaming like a little girl.
Yeah, look at that fucking thing.
Well, it landed on me.
It landed on me too.
Okay, take it and put it inside the room.
Let it go in there.
Yeah, let it go in there.
Let it go in there and I'll film it.
Let it go in there. We'll give you the $5.
Let it go in there and I'll film
door.
it. Let it go in there and I'll film it.
Let it go in. We'll give you
It's gonna be
$5.
so good.
You guys, you fucking bastards.
Ow! What is it?
It was just a little moth.
You were not gonna put that in here, you son of a bitch.
Dude. Come on, man. We won't do it.
Hey, wait. Put it under the door.
Yeah, put it under the
Put it
door.
under the door right there. There's lots of room right there. Right there. Put it under the door. See, put it down there. Let it crawl in the door. Yeah, right there.
One on me.
I controlled it like that. That's it. Put it down
You would not leave.
Put it down there.
Good boy. There we go.
Did you get him? Dang.
You can run fast.
Oh, Greggy Pie.
Harrington, you're so funny.
Michael made it funny.
Yeah? Gotta get it focused. There he is.
What?
What?